Questions today about what caused the extensive flooding on some Lakeview streets during yesterday's heavy rain.
Meg Gatto joins us now with the story.
Well, Liz and Lauren, we know that one of the pumps at the Sewage and Water Board pump station 12 was offline for about an hour, but the Sewage and Water Board claims that didn't affect the flooding we saw yesterday. However, the city councilman who represents Lakeview says that explanation does not add up. Joe Russo says he doesn't understand how a pump going down for an hour wouldn't affect the flooding that we saw. Neighbors in Lakeview say their streets took on water in places where it typically doesn't flood. There are also questions about why the city isn't cleaning catch basins, and if it is, when they were last cleaned. Also, if the city has touched any of the $10 million that the council allocated specifically for catch basin cleaning. Today, during a press conference, Mayor Cantrell said catch basins are cleaned routinely, but she didn't provide any specifics.
Rainfall coming, heavier amounts, shorter periods of time, and what we do know, too much too soon, we will see localized flooding. No doubt about that.
I think there either is breaks in the system, catch basins that are clogged, issues that are happening, or the pumps weren't either operating correctly or flowing in the right direction they should, or both happening at the same time.
Russo says he's trying to get information from the city about why the $10 million for catch basin cleaning hasn't been touched, but he's having a hard time getting answers. We put a request in with the city to see when exactly the catch basins around Lakeview have last been cleaned, but we never received a response.